Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 13th day of July, right in the middle of the month here. We're essentially 2 weeks away from training camps open up all around the NFL. Going to talk a little bit about that Quinnen Williams signing. How crucial is that for the New York Jets? Also, another lawsuit against the Georgia Bulldogs athletics department and Jalen Carter. I'll talk about that. And, of course, not to bury the lead, Jeremy Ballrick coming in, big Detroit Lions fan, got a Detroit Lions podcast. He's from the Let's Talk Sports. Going to get his take on the Lions. They're favored to win their division this year. I'll talk about that and more. And I'll be back here in 49 seconds. Let's get our only break out of the way, and we'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty, then I'm back here live now. Program and announcement. Tomorrow, no program. I've got an on-call deal with my job. Actually, I'm going to be working a night shift, a nighttime route tomorrow. Going to re-air one of the other Mad New Yorker episodes. Now, there's a good chance, because I'm working tomorrow night, that I'll probably have a show Monday. So check your notifications Monday. This is part of the sacrifice to get this program off the ground that I've had to do to keep up financially. Now, also, check that out. We check your notifications Monday. No show tomorrow. Okay, Quinnen Williams. Huge news from the New York Jets land. He has signed an extension here. Mike Schiff was pretty good. I actually saw that, Pickles. Henry Winkler, and I want to say Michael Keaton, if I'm not mistaken, was in that, where they started a brothel at a funeral home. It was a pretty funny movie. Okay, so Quinnen Williams signs an extension there today, and I noticed that that's a defensive tackle for the New York Jets. The news came out yesterday. The Jets are going to be on Hard Knocks starting in August, kicking and screaming. I totally forgot about that story. Quinnen Williams, really good defensive tackle, probably the best draft pick. I don't know. Sauce Gardner's pretty freaking good, but one of the best draft picks by Joe Douglas, the general manager there. He's got an extension there. And there was an interesting screenshot here I've got from, who is this? Adam Schefter, I want to say. Adam Schefter, a couple of shots here from Adam Schefter. Okay, Adam Schefter from ESPN says, Quinnen Williams is now the first Jets player selected in round one to sign a second contract with the organization since Muhammad Wilkerson, who they picked back in 2011. No Jets player selected in the first round from 2012 to 2018 has signed a second contract. That's how bad things have been. Tannenbaum had a lot of misses there. That's why he's the former general manager of the New York Jets now. Woody Harrelson, Woody Johnson, the owner, he's ecstatic about it. Adam Schefter also put this out. He said Quentin Williams becomes the latest defensive tackle to sign a mega contract. He also mentions Jeffrey Simmons from Tennessee, 4 years, $94 million. Now, Jeffrey Simmons, Tennessee, been in the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years. Keep these players in mind and notice a pattern here. Deron Payne, less than 2 years ago, this team was in the playoffs. Defensive tackle, Washington Commanders. Dexter Lawrence from the New York Giants, that team was in the playoffs last year. Javon Hargrave signs with the 49ers, used to play with the Philadelphia Eagles. They're coming off of a Super Bowl run. Ed Oliver from the Buffalo Bills signs a 4-year deal, $68 million as well. He is also off of a 2-time back-to-back playoff team. So you're not to mention the fact that the last 2 Super Bowl winners here, if you want to throw in Chris Jones out of the Kansas City Chiefs, under 30 years old, he's going to get an extension as well. It would be his 3rd contract. That's a Super Bowl winner. Super Bowl winner before that, Aaron Donald, good, solid defensive tackle. I would rather have a dominant guy at the tip of the ball more than an edge rusher. It's good to have edge rushers. It's pretty evident. But when you can get pressure up the middle, you're cutting off real estate. You're sending the quarterback to his right or to his left. You're cutting off the middle of the field. It's prevalent to have a good defensive tackle. I would take a tackle over a safety, linebacker. My dad used to tell me it always starts at the tip of the ball. It has never been more prevalent now than any time in the history of the NFL. So I'm totally 110% into this signing. Kudos to the New York Jets getting Quentin Williams, the most solid player in the last few years, re-signed with the New York Jets. I'm okay with that. Kudos to them. That's one less headache talking about the Jets and the Hard Knocks here. Remember, the last time the Hard Knocks was on, back in 2010, they had a star player who was doing a holdout. That was Darrelle Revis. They finally got things worked out. He was the best cornerback in the game at the time, one of the absolute best of his era, one of the best of all time. He comes back late in camp. They get that squared away. That is it, and they didn't play that well that year. But I'm saying something like that. You do not want to have a player of those type of magnitudes linger coming into the end of training camp, okay? The Jets do not want that same issue to happen the last time they was on Hard Knocks, okay? So anyways, big deal. Glad they got that taken care of. Monday, big deadline. Josh Jacobs and, of course, Saquon Barkley. I'll probably have a show Monday because I'm working that Friday night shift. I'm working an extra route Friday night, which means I won't have to work Saturday or Sunday night. I can have this program. What's going to happen with Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs of the Las Vegas Raiders remains to be seen. Jacobs says he will not be in camp if a long-term deal isn't signed over the weekend. They both could get signed, particularly Saquon Barkley. Okay? So, by the way, I also wrote down another note. The Super Bowl winner before that, who they have? Vita Vea, one of the best run stoppers in the game. That's a defensive tackle for the 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Go out and get you a good defensive tackle. You want to dominate the tip of the ball, okay? They cause a lot of havoc. I think that it's crucial in winning championships, get to the playoffs. We've seen that. All right, switching gears here. Again, 30 minutes past the hour. Jack got Jeremy Ballrick coming in from Detroit. Going to talk some Detroit Lions football. They're favored to win their division. Keep that in mind. Okay. All right. Now, I was wrong. Bad scope. LeBron James basically said on this little cheesy award show, used to be really good, the ESPN ESPY Awards, that he's essentially coming back this season, going to play for the Lakers. My take on that is I do like the holdings that they've held. Your Ari Ro Hashimura, and of course Austin Reeves. Not in love with the D'Angelo Russell re-signing, but I do like the players that they bought back. Obviously, Anthony Davis, there was rumors they may re-sign him. Now those rumors went the other way, that they're not going to re-sign him, which shows some restraint on their part. That being said, LeBron James, 56 games played last year, 55 the game before that. That's probably what you're going to get next year, pushing up on 40th birthday here for LeBron James. Gabe Vincent, yeah. And, of course, they added Gabe Vincent from the Miami Heat there. My thing is, can you, if Anthony Davis and LeBron are going to be out, very good chance one of those, if not both of those guys, are going to be out for a long, sustained period of time. I would say so. Look at the West. I think it's gotten better. We know that Phoenix is better with Bradley Beal. Okay, we know that Denver is the class of the Western Conference here. Okay, those are two strong. Memphis, they're going to have some players back, and Marcus Smart. Memphis is better. Those are three teams. Sacramento, young, hungry, fast, trouble. I mean, just a blazing fast team, though. So there's four teams right there. You still have to deal with the Clippers in your own backyard there, who James Harden's determined. I read he's determined to get to the Clippers here. Okay. Houston will be way better. They won't be a total pushover. That's just the Western Conference. Okay. So you said, well, what's your point? My point is they're probably still a play-in team. You know, they're probably still a play-in team. Maybe you can get to a 6. If you get to a 6, if I'm Darvin Ham in the organization, I'll say, listen, LeBron, we could play as much as you want, but we're going to have to limit your minutes. You cannot play 30 to 40 minutes a night. I think they should play 22 to 25 minutes a night for LeBron to maintain him if they want to be competitive right around the trade deadline. Maybe they make another move. They're just not complete enough on their front end players for them to make a serious championship run. Look at the competition that they're playing. Again, not to even mention the fact that they still have to play the Clippers, who's going to have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. I know they can't stay healthy either, but they seem to have had the Lakers' number, folks. I'm just calling it like I see it, Mad New Yorker. Well, the Mad New Yorker says play 2 minutes, play just 2 minutes a half. Well, my thing is, if you want to play 22 to 25 minutes, you want to start the game, maybe get something after quite a little bit after halftime, and then resting the rest of the third quarter, most of the fourth quarter, maybe 7 minutes to go, bring him in, go on the run, try to get the win. That's how I would do it. He might not want to hear that, but he's not getting any younger. I do not think that I just think these other teams are just going to run past them like they're standing in quicksand, if you ask me. Okay? Not to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm not here to cheerlead LeBron James. This ain't ESPN, okay? All righty then. Okay. Listen, folks. The more and more I read about this Georgia football team. I mean, I'm happy for the fans. This team, year before last, first national championship since 1980. With oh God, what's the guy's name? I totally forgot his name now. Either way, great running back. He's slipping my name. Doesn't make no difference. First championship since 1980, back in 2021. And of course, last year won the national championship again. Now, Pickles, Herschel, thank you. You guys know what I'm talking about. All right, back to a serious note here. Okay, this Chandler LaCroix, Victoria, I totally misunderstood this. Okay, her name is Victoria Bowles. Victoria Bowles is one of the recruiting analysts, and they calling her former. I don't know if she quit. I don't know if she was fired. It wasn't really technically explained. Going back to this car accident, that I get a sense that Georgia has really downplayed. 2 people died, okay? This other lady, this is another female recruiter, analyst, or whatever you want to call her. Her name was Chandler LaCroix. She was driving one of the cars that was racing, okay? This Chandler LaCroix, she's dead. She got into a car wreck. The other person racing that got into the wreck was Jalen Carter, the number 9th pick that goes to the Eagles, right? All right. You follow me here? This woman, Victoria Bowles, who's got injuries now, permanent injuries. There's a whole list of injuries in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution talking about the injuries that she has. She's suing Georgia Athletics, okay? She's suing Georgia, basically, because they're saying they said that rental car was supposed to have been turned in. They wasn't supposed to be driving it. She says otherwise, that not only that this woman, they let her drive that car, this Chandler lady, that she had a bad driving record, speeding tickets, reckless driving. She was supposedly doing over 100 miles an hour. This is supposed to be, she was out of control as much as Jalen Carter here, okay? So she's suing them. She claims to have text messages and everything to back her lawsuit up. It's a pretty heavy lawsuit. This is the second one. I want to say Jalen Carter's dad here is also, we've talked about that a few weeks ago. He is suing, he was suing the, he's suing, I think, the university and Jalen Carter as well. Okay. So anyways, Victoria Bowles, who survived the Cato car wreck. This is from ESPN, from the ADJ. They killed a University of Georgia player and recruiting staffer on January 15th, filed a lawsuit against the Athletic Association and Jalen Carter, whom police accused of racing the SUV, being driven by the recruiting staff. For the lawsuit filed in the state of Gwinnett County, state court, in Gwinnett County, by Bowles, a former recruiting analyst for the university, accuses the U.S. Athletic Association of negligence and contradicts public statements by the Bulldogs coach Kirby Smart and other officials who claimed that the recruiting staffer, Chandler LaCroix, who's dead now, she was involved in the car wreck, shouldn't have been driving the leased SUV that left the road and struck trees and utility poles. She's saying that's a ball-faced lie, just like I just explained it to you all. The more I'm looking at this, Carlos Pickles, the more I'm telling you, here's a few more screenshots from Georgia about this program. Kirby Smart, this was back in May, of string of University of Georgia players 5 Bulldogs have been arrested since January. Kirby Smart arrests two more. That's another headline. 2 more Georgia player incidents. This was on May the 31st, just about a month and a half ago, right? Here's another one. OnlineAthens.com. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reports that 11 players in Smart's 7 seasons remain with the program after women had alleged abuse to police or to the university. What does this sound like to you? What does this sound like to you? To me, folks, this sounds a lot like, and they've got a documentary, and I can't wait. I've got to renew my Netflix, even though my money's tight. This sounds a lot like those mid-2000s Urban Meyer University of Florida football teams. I mean, yeah, you're winning big. You're knocking down doors. You're recruiting. The Tennessee Titans drafted a player out of Georgia, offensive lineman, about 3 years ago. The guy gets his first check, parties like a rock star. In the first round, this guy was a first-round pick, and he was one of the biggest busts of all time. I think he played like 2 snaps with the Titans. They traded him for a 7th-round pick for the Dolphins. The Dolphins cut the guy. Terrible work ethic issues. But you look at that. You look at all these drip, the speeding. I just mentioned the complaints here. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, 11 players in Smart's 7 seasons remain with the program after women have held alleged abuse to police or the university. Yeah, this is Urban Meyer 2.0. And, you know, I like Kirby Smart. I liked Urban Meyer, right? Tebow. But you also had Aaron Hernandez. You had Carlos Dunlap getting the DUI before the SEC championship game. You had bar fight after bar fight with players, suspensions, you name it. You name it. You know, just show up on Saturday, right, Pickles? Just show up on Saturday. You sweep so much under the rug's starting to get, pumped up a little bit. I understand everybody has problems, but you can tell who runs a loose ship and who doesn't the way these things multiply and accumulate time and time again. So that is a Fast Cars, Hot Women, Georgia Bulldogs football. That's what Pickle says. Yeah. And also probably a 30 for 30 about these championship teams, about the glory. And, of course, the kids get sold on Fast Times in Georgia, like the movie Fast Times of Ridgemont High. Very funny. Good transition here. My guest has popped up, and I just finished up my last segment there, dogging out the University of Georgia. I've got, let me make sure and bring him up here, Jeremy Ballrich. Hey, Jeremy, good to see you, man.
Good to see you, Robert. Great to see you again.
Man, I told you I'd bring you on the program, buddy.
I told you I'd be ready.
About you a couple weeks ago, speaking of scandals and whatever, when the Tennessee Titans right tackle gets suspended for 6 games, Nicholas Free, former Ohio State player, for air quote, gambling at the facility, which I think is a bunch of nonsense, like you were telling me with the Jameis Williams thing. So that's why I really wanted to bring you on the program. But I want to ask you, man, a little bit about your background. How long have you been a Lions fan?
47 years.
47. Now, are you a Detroit native?
I'm from Michigan, but not Detroit. I have been attending games off and on since 1982, mostly because of Billy Sims, the guy that I have the signature hanging in the background there.
Did he play for Oklahoma in college?
Yes, he played for Oklahoma, and Barry Sanders was Oklahoma State.
Okay. My dad
So
used
them
to tell me
Oklahoma
about Billy
schools, they
Sims.
put out some good running backs.
Hey, man, That is some pretty good running backs right there. Now you got Jabari Gibbs. So you're a 47-year native. So what do you do, man? What do you? How long you been what's your day job? Are you retired? What's up?
My day job is I'm a tire technician. I'm a 52-year-old playing tire technician. I inspect and install car and truck tires. So I had somebody ask me, wow, do you work out? I said, well, when you lift between 10 and 40 tires that weigh a minimum of 50 pounds a day, I don't really need to go to the gym to work out.
So where about in Michigan do you live at? What area?
I'm about 45 minutes north of Michigan, north of Detroit, just east of Flint, Michigan.
Oh, wow. Right in the heart of the Motor City, man.
Yeah,
that is
I love
good
it.
stuff. You know, so you said you've been a fan since 82.
No, I've been a fan for 47 years. That would be since
1970. Excuse me.
That'd be 1975. I fell in love with the colors first.
Wow.
But in 1982, when I attended my first game, it was the Houston Oilers versus Detroit Lions, and I saw Billy Sims basically leapfrog a lineman and karate kick a cornerback to get a first down, and I fell in love because the rules changed about what an offensive player can do to get his first down the next year. It is amazing how many times a rule has changed because of something that happened with Detroit.
So he could do those big somersaults, huh?
Yeah, that's one of the things that kind of ruined his career. He used to somersault over the D-line. Alex Karras was a Lion. Yes, he was suspended in 1967. Him and another Minnesota Viking, both of them, for their involvement in gambling on the NFL.
How ironic. History repeats itself.
But the whole betting, like,
yeah,
if it was in the team facility for Jameson Williams, I would be all on board with the 6-game suspension. When I found out it was in his hotel room while at an away game that he bet on Alabama. So you did find that out
for sure.
He bet on Alabama football in the college playoffs. He didn't even bet on the NFL.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that
I see that Pickles Lebanon said played Mango in Blazing Saddles. Yes, one of my favorite movies. My favorite part was the big fight at the end of the movie when he just punched the horse and knocked it out cold. Of course, when the sheriff comes to town, and he goes, "Excuse me while I whip this out," and pulls out the decree from the governor, announcing him as the sheriff.
Pickles is a throwback. He knows all the old school stuff here, man. You know, so. Do you think maybe the Players Association should they fight for these guys?
I think they should to an extent. I think it should be a lesser. And the NFL even came out just before the new suspensions saying that they may have been a little harsh specifically on Jameson Williams.
Yes.
Because he was not in the training facility itself. And I think that may change. And they spelled out the rules better because of that after it.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not saying just Jameson Williams. I think that if you do it for him, they should do it for everybody this season and reduce it to a 3 or 4 game suspension.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking it should be. Because if using a PED gets you 4 games, then gambling outside the NFL should only get you 4 games. Because using a PED is cheating.
Yeah. So if he were at home, he could bet on Alabama.
Right.
Legally.
If he was at home, if he paid for the hotel room himself, he could bet on Alabama. He literally, if it was a casino hotel, he could go downstairs and use a slot machine and not get in trouble. But if he went to the sports book and bet on college sports while he's at that hotel, he gets in trouble.
That is a technical. That is a bunch of 50-cent bull crap.
I think they need to lessen the outside the NFL betting suspensions anyways, personally, because what is 60% of the commercials you see during a football game now that they're sponsored by all of them? Gambling, beer, and vacation sites, right? Everything's online.
And fast food and crap. It's insurance.
But 60% of the commercials, it's either BetMGM or Little Caesars Online or FanDuel or DraftKings.
Yeah, here's my thing. Listen, man, you got. Is there other secrets to other sports inside these facilities? It sounds so stupid. You know what I mean? If you really
can't
think
tell
about it,
me
it sounds
that
ridiculous.
the Colts, the Titans, and the Lions are the only teams that have violated this rule, because
Yeah.
there are 18 cities in 9 different states that have legalized online sports betting.
And in Tennessee, yeah, we're legal.
The only one that I know where they educated their team very good and there wouldn't be an issue is probably Las Vegas, because they'll be scrutinized more than any other team with being in Vegas.
You have to there. Jeez. Yeah.
But
yeah.
When it came out and Jameson was interviewed by the local media at OTAs, and they asked him, he goes, well, it was a rule I didn't even know was a rule, but I broke it. I'm going to face my music. I'm not going to appeal it. I'm going to do my time. He goes, and the fact is, I didn't hear about it from the NFL league offices. I didn't hear from it from the NFLPA. I didn't hear from it from my coaches, and I didn't hear from it from player personnel. I heard it from my father, who saw it on a ticker on NFL Network.
Wow.
I think that's a travesty that's how
That
he
is.
had to be contacted to be told you're suspended for 6 weeks of the regular season.
A lot of stuff they read on Twitter or hear from a family member when they're cut from teams or the coach gets fired.
I mean, a last-second trade like what happened between Goff and Stafford, stuff like that's going to happen. Because on Friday, Sean McVay came out and said, Goff is our guy. He'll be here forever.
Yeah.
For the entire contract. And on Tuesday, 4 days later, hey, pack your bags. You're going to Detroit.
That's like he's our coach for right now. The owner say that, and then Monday, he's fired, and we decided to let him go.
Pickles Lebanon is exactly right. The agent should be notified first, and their legal counsel whenever anything happens like that. So the legal counsel for NFL players is the NFLPA. They are the ones that go to bat for players. That's who handles all the legalities between the NFL and the players. So it should have been his agent and the NFLPA, and then Jameson Williams, not NFL Network. His father sees it and goes, hey, did you know you're suspended?
Yeah. And that happens all the time, man. It really does. Now, let me ask you this. They're favored to win their division. When is the last time the Lions have been favored? Can you remember?
1994, the last time they did win the division.
That's what I thought. I was going to say 91, 92.
91, they won the division. And 94 was the 93-94 season. Technically, the season ended in 93, but the playoffs started in 94.
Yeah.
Back when it was a 14-game
years
season.
Ago.
Yeah, 30 years ago.
How do you think Dan Campbell and this, how are they going to handle being the favorite? He can't play that underdog stuff anymore.
He can.
You think so?
For one reason. Listen to everybody in the division in the NFC North. They still dog the Lions. They still say, hey, it's same old Lions. They're going to fall apart. They're not going to do it. Blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, but let's look at the division as a whole.
Yeah.
Chicago won 3 games and 0 games against division rivals, correct?
Yeah. I thought they had a shot against your Lions, though, last game.
They did the last game, but, Justin Fields did Justin Fields things. One read, run, and throw an interception.
Yeah.
Aiden Hutchinson got that boy, too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he
sealed
did.
the game.
Yeah. And they've got a whole new rebound secondary,
When your defensive player or defensive rookie of the year has 2 interceptions and 8 passes defended, but you've got a defensive lineman who did something only 2 Hall of Famers have done in their career in their rookie year.
What's that?
I'm going to say the names of the Hall of Famers first. Richard Dent, Lawrence Taylor, and Aiden Hutchinson. All of them had 9+ sacks and 3 interceptions their rookie year.
Wow. Richard Dent and LT.
They're the only guys other than Aiden Hutchinson to do that.
Richard Dent went to school here in Tennessee State, here in
Yes,
Nashville.
he did.
Yeah, played for the Bears.
At one time, I used to live down in Columbia, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's about, I live by the airport, man. That's about 60 miles, I think, south.
60 miles south of Nashville. As a matter of fact, I lived there in 95, 96, and 97. And in 96, what happened there in Nashville? They got the Tennessee Oilers.
Yeah.
And because it was an expansion team and the expansion draft isn't what it is now, they held walk-on tryouts. And I said, what the hell? I'm 27. I'm at that age where if I make it.
Oh, you tried out?
I tried out. The problem is I played defensive back. I was 5'11" and 185. I could tackle, I could defend, but I had a 4.7 40. That's slow for a corner.
Hey, did you play high school football?
I did a little. I played 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. I didn't make it to varsity because I got hurt in the 10th grade, and family said, "You're not doing that no more."
Yeah. How long did you try out for Tennessee? How many days?
It was a week.
Oh,
like
wow.
3. It was a 3-day thing, and then there was a day of rest, and then a comeback. I didn't make the comeback.
Did you make any of the cuts?
I made it through the first cut at day 2. I made it through the first cut, made it to 3rd day, and then we had our day off, and then I was told, you can stay home. I just wanted to get my foot in the door of the NFL. I figured, what the hell? This is probably the only shot I'll have because no teams do walk-on tryouts anymore. That was something in the 70s, back when they had 14-round drafts.
Yeah. That's why I think those 5th and 6th round guys, you can't
count them out anymore. You can't count them out anymore. Look at the UDFAs that have had to come up and play for Detroit during the past 2 years. And when they played, that they actually contributed to winning.
Mm-hmm. Well, Amon St. Brown was a 4th round pick. He said, I'm never going to forget those 16 players drafted ahead of me. Did you hear that the other day?
Yes, I did. And he did an interview, and they asked him, and he named every single one of them from the first wide receiver pick to the one just before him. Now, here's the crazy thing. Prior to the week before the draft, he was considered the 5th best wide receiver already coming out of college. But there was some sort of scandal that came up, and it ended up being fake news, and it was broken up a week later. That is why he fell to the 4th round. And it was a guy they wanted, but when you're in that first year of your draft, you have to build your trenches first when you're rebuilding and you strip the team to the studs. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. They are 6.5-point underdogs against Kansas City. That feels like a play, you know?
Oh, I'm going to put a little on it. It's a play. It's a play.
I'm going
to tell you why that's a play. Kansas City has the 2nd youngest defense in the NFL this year. Last year they had the 3rd. The year before that they had the 1st, and the year before that they had the 4th. All of those years prior, it takes that young defense 5 to 6 games to get their feet underneath them and start playing great. You have some flashes from the young guys here and there, but that's also why they always have that record where everybody says, ooh, is Kansas City going to make the playoffs? And then they rattle off 9, 10 games in a row and end up first place in the division. It's because young players take time to gel. So with that being said, and we interjected some veteran leadership to our secondary room with Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, and CJ GJ, who arguably is one of the best safeties that played the game last year. He was a top 7, I think.
Yes, Gardner Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we got him.
Cam
Sutton is a top 25 corner, which means he's a valid number 1 on 25 different teams.
Yeah. So you were okay with moving Okudah? You think they should have done that?
I didn't like it because he hadn't been developed properly due to the injuries and the amount of games played. He actually only had like a year and 4 games underneath him played.
Yeah.
And his first 10 games
one
shouldn't
great
count
game
because
against Jefferson, remember? The first game.
3 catches, 14 yards in the first game of the season against
Man,
him.
you got this stuff down, brother. Yeah.
The fact we lost that game was a travesty because we lost it in a similar fashion, but without the controversial cause at the end of the game.
Yeah, that was
with
in Minnesota.
with a career-long field goal by a rookie kicker. I
God.
mean, you can't write stories like that. And let's flash back to the first time a rookie kicker hit a career long against Detroit, and it was a Monday night football game. It was Justin Tucker's first year in the league.
You're
The
kidding.
Ravens. He hit his first 50-plus yarder against the Lions. It was a
He hit a
54-yarder.
61-yarder 2 years ago to beat you.
A 66.
66. There you go.
Record setter. A record setter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you know,
and he killed my bet, too.
for a tenth of a second, every Lions fan rejoiced when that football hit the crossbar. And
Yeah.
then when it trickled in, you could just hear the air deflate out of Ford Field.
And it was a bad call in that game that should have been
In the
a
play
5-yard
before,
penalty.
should have been a 10-second runoff, and that kick should have never happened because the penalty happened at 7 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. And it would have been 5. Yeah. And plus, I think it would have been a 5-yard penalty. There was something to do with
it was a delay of game.
Yeah, that's
called.
it. It was.
But at the same time, if you
I've got it on tape.
If you watch, when the play clock hit 0, the right tackle jumped and they didn't call false start either.
Yeah. Yeah.
The play clock hit 0. The right tackle's up like this. As soon as it hit 0, he was ready to jump and looked over and crouched back down.
Yeah, I've had some bad luck. I do think that young secondary, that vet secondary, I think they'll come together. You have a really good chance. That would be awesome if you beat Kansas. I mean, I have to bring you on that week if you beat. I think that's the first game of the season, right?
Yes, it is the first game. It is the very first game of the season because it is Thursday night season opener versus Kansas City in Kansas City. Granted, it's on the road, but that didn't really matter for Detroit. We averaged over 30 points a game, even on the road or at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's going to step up with Williams being out? I know Amon St. Brown. What other weapons do you see that nobody's talking about?
There's a couple. One is that offensive switchblade guy, the UDFA. We waived him. Nobody picked him up. Not one team picked him up. So that automatically makes him no longer a UDFA. He's on active roster.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that the way the rules work? When your player's waived and they come back, they're automatically on the active roster.
They make it through waivers.
It's that 6'5", 230-pound wide receiver / fullback / halfback / quarterback / tight end, Katoan Thompson out of Virginia.
Okay.
I mean, he's not the fastest guy with the 4.65, but that's fine for a fullback or tight end. That's good speed for that. It's not good speed for a wide receiver or running back.
I know about Jabbar Gibbs. I forgot the rookie.
Jahmyr Gibbs, he's got that 4.36 speed, 4.32 at his pro day. So that means he's anywhere in between there. Because to me, pro day times, they can be a little fudged by it.
They can be. I like the combine stuff too.
Oh, better. I love the combine stuff, but a 4.36 on the combine, that's electric.
I've watched a lot of Gibbs. He was great.
Yeah,
man.
And they already said in the OTAs and in the mini camps that have happened, as far as running routes as a running back, he looks like a polished receiving back out of the backfield. And we've been lining him up in the slot and at the X in the one position because of his speed. Because that type of speed is the type of speed that can blow the top off of a safety zone.
Yeah. So you like this? You like Gibbs? You like this other guy you mentioned?
Katoan Thompson.
But I think that tight end.
And then David Montgomery is the other guy we picked up.
Oh yeah. They're from the Bears.
Here's the thing. I hear everybody say, "Oh, he's garbage because he played for the Bears." I was like, "No, you don't understand. They had the 32nd O-line in run protection.
Yeah,
yards per prior to contact was negative 0.7 yards. He led the league in broken tackles.
I thought he was good.
Averaged 4.3 yards per carry. The problem is they had the one read and run quarterback that led the team in rushing. Otherwise, he'd had 1,000 yards.
What do you expect from the Bears? I think they made a lot of upgrades, though.
They made a lot of upgrades. They gave him some more weapons. What I want to see happen is him learn to read a defense. Until he reads a defense, I don't expect a lot out of the Bears. Yeah. Because until I see him completing over 60%, and he doesn't even have to do a lot. 200 to 250 yards a game and 2 touchdowns to 1 pick. If he's able to do that, he's taking that next step.
Right.
and then add in the 70 to 100 yards rushing on top of that.
Yeah. So Minnesota, I think you're like me. That defense is still.
They lost 4 Pro Bowlers, and a 5th one wants to leave. Daniil Hunter. He's asking for a trade. So you got Harrison Smith, and the over-under for him being injured is 5 games. Louis Sines in his second year, will he have that sophomore meteoric rise, or will he hit the sophomore slump? It goes back and forth with the defensive backs in the NFL because it takes them 3 years to learn how to play in the NFL. So you don't know which one you're going to get out of him. That's a question mark. You have guys replacing that are question marks. They couldn't afford to buy anybody because they had to cut all that dead cap just to get enough cap to sign their rookies.
Yeah. And what
so
about
didn't get to make a lot of
drafted Addison in the first round when they needed defense like nobody's business.
I would have drafted another safety and jettisoned Harrison Smith out of there, because Harrison Smith, his over-under is 5 games before he's injured, just like every year.
He was good back in the day, but he's getting long.
But the last 3 years, it's been 5-6 games he gets injured.
Yeah, and of course,
and it's never a season-ending injury. But if you look, he doesn't play the same when he comes back. The same with all players when they get injured, because that mental part of the injury bug gets in your head.
What's your thoughts on the Packers this year?
It all hinges on whether Jordan Love can be good or not, and we don't know.
They're a super wild card, ain't they?
What are the odds that one team drafts 2 consecutive first-round picks that end up playing like Hall of Famers? What is the odds of that?
I didn't think Rodgers was going to be any good.
And Rodgers ended up being great, and he was great in the regular season. I think he's a closet 49ers fan, is why he could never beat him in the playoffs.
Ain't that the truth?
I mean, he would have his worst games I've ever seen in those playoff games versus the 49ers. Missing missing throws he don't normally miss. Throwing it so hard, it looks like he was trying to imitate Matt Stafford breaking Calvin Johnson's hands.
Right. Maybe he was just pressing. I'm like you. I don't know. I know they got some players in Green Bay, offensive line, defensive players.
They got defensive line. They got one safety. The other guy, you don't know who he is, because Adrian Amos went to the Packers East. I mean, New York Jets.
Pretty good. Alexander at corner.
Yeah. And Eric Stokes should be back by week 5, I hear.
Okay.
He's recovering from his injury. But you got a lot of question marks there. Their linebacker room is probably the most stout. Their defensive interior is where they're a little weak, and their defensive ends, they're good.
Yeah,
they're not
Gary's
great.
Pretty good. Rashawn Gary.
Yeah, Gary. He's outside linebacker. Yep.
Oh, is he? I thought he was an edge.
They went to the 3-4 with Joe Barry, and that's another thing. Defensive coordinator, assistant defensive coordinator for the Lions, Joe Barry. When we went from the 3rd defense to the 25th defense in a year.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed with Joe Barry.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Probably y'all the one of the most improved teams in the league. And then you said something about their first round picks. You like that guy out of Iowa, that linebacker they selected?
I love Jack Campbell. He's the biggest linebacker that we've drafted since Chris Spielman in 1988.
Woo! Well, that's a heck of a stat. That's a good person to be compared to.
Well, when Chris Spielman came out of Ohio State, he was 6'4" and 240 plus pounds. 6'4", 240 plus pounds. Again, I mean, I think he's 4 pounds lighter than what Spielman was.
Man. Yeah.
And what he is, he's a hard hitter. He plays the run well, but he was the best coverage linebacker in NCAA last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Iowa, right?
Yep. Out of Iowa.
Yeah.
Iowa, LSU, Penn State. Those are your linebacker units.
Linebackers. Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that Iowa puts out is what we drafted at the beginning of the 2nd round. Tight ends. Them big corn-fed country boys. You got
another Iowa tight end?
It's pretty good considering that's the best, usually one of the best schools to get a tight end from.
Yeah. Was you upset when they traded Hockenson to Minnesota?
No. As far as a receiving talent, he was good. Where he lacked at is breaking tackles And I think a lot of that had to do with that first year when he went to hurdle that guy and he darn near broke his leg.
Oh, yeah.
He never broke tackles like that again. You know, he wasn't shoving guy. Every now and then he'd shove a guy down or break a tackle, but he usually would go down at first contact. If he'd have been what he was advertised coming out of the draft, an extra tackle in the run game, yes, I'd have been upset with trading him. But in his 3 years that he played for Detroit and the start of his 4th year there, he was ranked in the bottom 5 of 120 players ranked between O-line and tight ends in run blocking. Bottom 5.
Wow.
So that means he's not that blocking tight end that everybody thought he was going to be. If he was that, he'd have been a generational talent. And that's what I've been trying to explain to people. You can, and Hockenson had big concentration drops in key clutch moments in games.
Yeah. What's that other guy's name? Brock Osweiler or something?
Brock Wright.
Right. Yeah.
Brock Wright and Shane Zylstra. Them two combined for more touchdowns last year than Hockenson had in the previous 2 years combined.
Man, that's why I wanted to have you on. I was talking to you the other day. I was like, man, he's like encyclopedia, man.
I pay attention to stats. You have to. The other thing I pay attention is capology. You have to really study what your team can do in an offseason. This year wasn't the year for big flashy signings. We got CJ GJ on a prove-it deal. And I don't think that a lot of teams would have been able to get that. Not with the caliber of safety he was. I think he actually said in his interview, they said, well, why Detroit? He goes, well, when I watched him in week 18 smack the Packers in the mouth in their house and knock them out of the playoffs, he said, that's a team I want to play for.
Yeah. When's the last time you heard that from a Detroit
From a good player? From a good player outside of your team. You don't hear that. You haven't heard that about Detroit in well over 30 years. The last time you heard that in Detroit, it was Pat Swilling being traded for. Remember him?
Yeah. Yeah. And then
he wasn't much, but he was a good player where he was before and came here and kind of his career died.
Your offensive coordinator decided to stay.
And that's the biggest reason why we kept Goff.
Yeah.
Because if we'd have traded Goff this year, it cleared $10 million in cap. If you'd have had to get another coordinator, you'd have got somebody who is, I want to say it correctly, not a running quarterback, but a more athletic quarterback, somebody that could use that type of system better, especially with drafting Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. What's your thoughts on his pre-camps? What are you reading about up there? What are you hearing on the radio?
He actually has already taken snaps to throw. Okay. And they said if he didn't have that brace on, his mechanics are so good you wouldn't even know he was injured.
Wow. Well, he did great for us last year here in Tennessee, man. Wow.
Oh, I said back at the end of October, early November when he got hurt, wasn't it week 8? He played 8 games for y'all, right?
Yeah.
So it was either week 8, week 9. Game. I said immediately, if he's there in the 3rd round and the Lions took him, I would not be upset because he's.
You said that back in November?
I said that back then, right after his injury. I said, because this guy was head and shoulders the best quarterback in college football.
Well, he was playing that way for a little while.
Yeah. I mean, throwing wise, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and then you add in the 10 more with his legs. That's 37 touchdowns he was responsible for.
Real good attitude, man. Team guy.
And he has very good pocket presence is what I was noticing. He knows how to move the pocket and manipulate the pocket to let a receiver get open. He only runs when he has to.
Yeah. When the
pocket collapses.
25 years old. He's ready. Mentally, he's ready,
Right. And I love the fact that his master's is in leadership and business management. His master's. He's got his master's at 25. And what's funny is what I heard before he even started taking snaps while he was still recuperating and getting better to where he could walk without the crutches and stuff. Every time somebody would do a good play, he would clap them on the back or he'd do dabs with them. And, that's leadership quality.
He's a we guy, not a me guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And
man, that's awesome, Jeremy. Hey, so when does your show come on?
My show is I do the NFL takes on Wednesdays on my channel, which is Kneecap Biting with the Detroit Lions, because I started it after we had Campbell, of course.
Okay. Is that on Let's Talk Sports too with Dan Dave's channel?
Dan puts it out there for me, yes, but I'm kind of more the TVMA thing, so I won't make it to the Roku or any of the TV streaming.
Yeah.
Because
but it's on YouTube?
Yeah, I am on YouTube 100%.
Okay. And what time does it come on?
I do 8 o'clock on Wednesdays, and then my Lions fan cave chat during the off season is Friday nights at 9:30, where I bring in other fans and other podcasters, and we toss around the big news around the Lions. And this is adult time. So what I've been doing to try and get viewership activity better is I have them come on, and it's a viewer-driven content show. You drive the topics you want to hear.
Okay.
So you ask me a question in the chat, and I'll address it, and we'll pass it around the panel. And I think that it's worked because my viewership has jumped big time over the last few weeks doing this.
Oh, good stuff, man. I'll make sure and tune into that. Now, this show comes on at 8 p.m. Eastern, so I'll do it probably not live, but yeah, when you're off, because I could tell. I definitely got to bring you on my show. If they beat Kansas City, which they could, 6.5 points is what FanDuel's got them at.
I think it's going to be a close game either way. I think it could go either way. I think it's going to be a 4-point game.
Yeah.
Well, think about this. The last time Goff played Mahomes,
he beat him with the Rams.
He beat him in overtime with the Rams, 54-51, the highest scoring Monday Night Football game ever in Mexico City.
Yeah.
So that was a
great fantasy game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he out Mahomes.
Do you play daily fantasy?
I used to. I was a part of the Let's Talk Sports podcaster fantasy group last year.
Okay.
I made it to the playoffs. I didn't go far. I had too many players get injured too late.
Hey, that's why I gave up on those draft leagues. I'm a salary cap guy. Hey, Jeremy, I really appreciate you coming on. We got to stay in touch. Now, you are picking Detroit to win the North.
I am picking Detroit to win the North. I think the floor for them is 10 wins. There's 4 games I don't see them winning in the midseason just because they're on the road and it's heavy travel time at that point.
Okay.
And I think those will be hard to win. But there's 3 toss-up games in there. So my ceiling is 13 wins. Woo! I think they're going to land somewhere between 11 and 12, honestly, because we're going to win one because Lions and we're going to lose one because Lions.
You're going to have a Carolina game next year.
I don't think we're going to have that big of a letdown.
Yeah, I hate that. That was the most disappointing, that Carolina game last year.
Think about this. As bad as that was in the first half, they gave up 250 yards rushing to those 3 running backs in the first half. They only gave up 60 in the second half, came back and almost won it.
Yeah.
If they'd had the right equipment on, which is what changed everything, is they got the right cleats on for the turf.
Really cold down there that day. It was cold all the
whole
whole
country. Colder than usual. When it's cold and humid, that slit turf gets slippery.
Yeah.
Which leads to a lot of missed tackles on defense when you're trying to cut and catch somebody.
Yeah. So you're saying, what is your actual prediction? You're saying like 11-6, maybe?
I think that's the realistic expectation
to have. 11-6 winners.
11-6. Win the division, be the 3rd or 4th seed in the NFC, which means they get a home game.
Would you go? Do you think you can go?
I can't afford it, but I'll tell you what, I'll be tailgating right outside no matter how cold it is. I'll even sit in my car and listen and podcast right from there. I don't care.
Yeah. See, I'm like you. I can't afford it. Plus, it's too much hassle. But to get our shows up, that's probably what we should do as podcasters. Go to the games.
As podcasters, I do have some news that I got from YouTube.
Okay.
They have lowered the point to where you get eligibility to be paid to where you can apply for it. Now you need 500 subscribers to your channel.
Nice.
And 3,000 watch hours. It used to be 1,000 and 6,000 just to be considered.
I've only got
eligible.
Like 33.
I'm sitting at 1,733 watch hours and 275 subscribers on an all Detroit channel.
Nice. Yeah, I've got probably 5,000, but it's over 5 Facebook.
It doesn't have to be within a year. No, it has to be just YouTube watch hours.
Yeah.
And the only way you can track that really and get the accurate count is to download YouTube Studio.
Yeah. So,
and you just look at the lifetime of your channel. I want to thank Pickles Lebanon. He's been good. He's been talking about the Lions.
He knows the stuff, don't he?
I've got a couple things real quick that I wanted to bring up before we head out.
Yeah, man.
I downloaded a couple of pictures. One of them has to do with our buddy Hendon Hooker. Getting to know Hendon Hooker. His nickname is Hendo. His college major was communications, public relations, minor in real estate, and master's in leadership and development.
Smart guy.
His favorite emoji is the crying, laughing face. Last thing he purchased. You want to see how humble and real this guy is? Some white tees from a gas station is the last thing he purchased. If you could play any other NFL position, what would you play? He goes, safety. It's the quarterback of the defense. You get to see everything. You get to fly around and hit people. I mean,
he's a great. Yeah, you wouldn't hear that from a quarterback normally.
Right. Normally they'd say wide receiver or running back or something like that. And then our third round pick at the end of the third round, and I'm not talking about Hendo. I'm talking about the one at the end of the third round, Broderick Martin. His nickname is, they call me B, Brad, or Big Homie. And the laughing face is his favorite emoji. He goes, what would his entrance be? He goes, something by my best friend. My best friend makes music, so look up one of his songs, The Artist 9. Look it up.
Dang.
Any hidden talents? He's also a car mechanic.
Wow.
You
don't see that a lot nowadays.
340 pounds, and he can work on a car. I like that.
Man.
If you weren't playing football, what would you be doing? He said, probably be a mechanic.
Man. So
that's a humble background.
Yeah. Yeah, humble. I forgot you had 2 third rounds, you had 2 seconds and 2 first, right?
Yeah. And well, we traded. Yeah, we had that one early. At 34, we took Sam Laporta, and then we traded up from 48 to 45 and stole Brian Branch from the Packers. And if you want a funny laugh, watch the reaction to the Lions drafting Brian Branch last year by Tom Grossi. He's a good podcaster for the Packers. Man. He does a lot of funny stuff, but he does live draft reactions. That one is classic. He almost cried. He started throwing stuff. It was great.
They're one of the most interesting they may be the most interesting team this year, if you really think about it, because of all your additions. I mean, I know the Bears got a lot of players, but it just seems like, man, the Lions got the most in the whole league. You know,
I won't say the whole league. I'm not going to go there, but I will say I think they're the most
players. I don't know about the most hype, but
I think they're the most improved team in the division. I think the Vikings are the most overhyped in the division. The fact that Vegas still has them at 9 wins, I'm betting the under.
Yeah,
I do an NFC North parlay every year. I put $50 on it because when you're doing a 4-way parlay, you can make a decent amount of money if it hits.
Yeah.
Last year, I nailed it. I said over for the Vikings, over for the Lions, under for the Packers, under for the Bears.
Money.
And this year, I'm going to go kind of the opposite way here, but still with the Lions on the over.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I'm going to take the Bears at over 6.5.
Yeah, I think they can win 7 or 8.
I think they can win 7 or 8. I don't think they're going to do enough to get into the playoffs, but I think they got a team that can surprise some people.
Yeah.
Because they did get enough talent around.
Yeah, they got it everywhere, man.
And I also like the fact the ground and pound guy, they got to go with Khalil Herbert in the draft. They got that Roshan Johnson, the one that backed up Behan. I like that kid. I just think he's going to be something special in that goal line formation.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, and under for the other two, for the Vikings and the Packers.
Yeah, I just don't see what the Packers, I don't know.
Because everybody says, oh, they got a great defense. They were the 21st defense overall in scoring.
Yeah.
They were 26th in passing. They were only one spot better, 29th in rushing than the Lions. And the Lions were historically bad to start the season and
they
moved up
good
from
at the
32
end of the
to 30.
season, but you know.
But you always have that one game where it looks like a team just fell asleep. And that's kind of what it looked like versus Carolina. But really, they didn't, because they still had the offensive production. It was just that turf ruined any chance that defense had at stopping anybody.
Man. Yeah, that they're really going to be something, man. Of course, I thought about the Saints, and Atlanta had a pretty good, interesting offseason.
I think that division comes down to Atlanta and New Orleans.
Yeah,
I can't tell you who's going to win, but there's a darn good chance. As much as I hate to say it, you see a 7-10 with 7-10 record win a division.
Right. Seattle had a pretty good offseason too. I mean, they're right there with you all.
But I'm going to say one thing about that. We know what Geno Smith was. Last year, he earned the respect to be called by his full name, Eugene Cyril Smith. What happens if Geno Smith shows up in Seattle this year?
Yeah, and they got that wide receiver from
Jackson Smith-Njigba out of Ohio State. Yep, and then Jordan Addison went to the Vikings. But they lost Dalvin Cook. And much to the chagrin of Vikings fans, I'm going to say this right now. There is no reason why Alex Madison is going to require 8 men in the box, so you will not see Justin Jefferson in single coverage this year.
He's not quite Cook.
He's not as electric. Yeah. Not as electric.
I think Cook will probably sign with the Dolphins.
I'm shocked that let's go down that list of the 4 big running backs that are free agents right now. You got Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott, and Kareem Hunt. The one that I am most surprised about not being signed is Kareem Hunt. Because there was only 4 guys in this draft with that skill set, and one of them is the guy that the Lions got, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
So with speed and the scat back ability, and everybody drafted these big pounder guys, the fact that he's still out there as a free agent is what's surprising to me.
That's interesting. I forgot about Kareem Hunt. Almost forgot about him. Yeah.
But Hendon Hooker was asked about his rehab. He goes, I'm just really taking it day by day and continuing to build up my body back up to where I want to be and even better.
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt has a lot left in the tank. Yeah, because remember, he was suspended for a year due to that domestic violence thing.
Yeah,
before he went to Cleveland. Cleveland traded for him while he was suspended. So
and he's sharing
even
though
he's 28 years old, he's only got the miles of a 27-year-old. And that's huge in the NFL, which means he has 3 good years left in his tank.
Maybe the Denver Broncos pick him up. You know how Sean Payton loves to collect running backs.
And he loves those guys that are Alvin Kamara-esque. And Kareem Hunt is.
There you go. All right, Jeremy. Have a good night, man. Thanks again.
And I also, before I take off, I just want to say, if you want to read more about the Lions, I write for the Motor City Tribune. It's under the SouthFloridaTribune.com webpage. Go ahead and look it up there. I write about the NFL and the Detroit Lions.
Okay. Yeah, it's all recorded, buddy. Have a good night, man.
Have a good night.
See you, buddy. All right, everybody. I will be back on Monday live, but I'll probably put together one of my interviews for tomorrow's show. Make sure and tune in. If you like the show, please share the show here on Sports Scope. Great show.